All right, shout out to Quant Papa. Let's get into some of the QNT Quant coverage. Yes, smash that like for some Quant. All right, so the one and only Quant Papa, Mr. Baby. All right, so as you can see right here, he had some updates. He posted this on July 10th. It's only about 4 days ago. Enterprises that want to transact on public blockchains are limited when dealing with crypto for gas and transaction fees. Ooh. They face security threats, friction, and risk of asset losses when relying on signing and storing with MetaMask on an employee's machine. All right, so he has this tagged as QNT Treasury White Glove Service. Are we referencing Michael Jackson? No, we're not. All right. We're going to go ahead and play this 2 minutes and 13 seconds, and I'll give you guys a little quick takeaway and kick it to the next part of the QNT coverage. Please smash that like. Here we go. Thank you again to Quant Papa.
So with Enterprise, so the Treasury function handles that conversion of their fees from fiat into Quant, and the Treasury buys that for Enterprise. Mm-hmm. So we don't want the extra steps for Enterprise to go and create accounts on exchanges and do all these complex things. We'll handle that on their behalf, just to simplify the usage of the platform. But it's all powered by Quant tokens. So they just like developers need the same developers licenses and Quant and transactions and it's just the Treasury does it for them. What we've done is instead of them going and buying each time, I need 10 from here, 10 from there, and 100 from there, we let the Treasury do that on their behalf. So they're paying. It's a conversion of, let's just say, £1,000, and that's the cost. So that's the fee they have to pay. But then the Treasury function takes that and converts it into Quant and buys the Quant for them.
Sure. And Gil, that Treasury, we might as well talk about this a bit more. That Treasury really is the intermediary. That's that killer intermediary that you must have to make it easy for businesses with no headache to deal with the fiat. You can send it across to you and you do the conversion. As you said, they're the handler, as the Treasury internal handler, not an external one.
Yeah. So think of it as a foreign exchange conversion. You want another currency and you give them your credit card and then they give you the other currency. So the Treasury converts the platform fee for Enterprise into Quant, and it's really to take away the friction. There's no way in the world you can get the head of procurement or someone in accounts or finance to go and create a Binance account, do some KYC, go buy some tokens and cryptocurrency and whatever, and then record that on their asset books in the ledger and in the accounting system.
Sure.
Enterprise does not understand that.
I mean, here's the thing, right? We've seen Gilbert Verdian in these old, these clips are taken from a very long interview. I think that interview is like maybe, 2 hours or something like that. But, Quant Papa always chops those up and gives it to us. Some of you guys were kind of wondering, like, how does that work? You have a particular developer who comes in, or you have a particular company, they got to pay for the annual subscription. How does that all work? Does it go to like a QNT treasury, if you will? Well, yeah, there you go. So I thought I'd show you guys that because, there is enterprise demand, and there is a private treasury. It says, because this private treasury is about trust in the value of QNT. I'm going to jump into a little bit more what we have, and I'm going to show you guys just a tad bit more on that topic. So here's what was referenced, and I'll come back into the frame, and it states, this part right here. All right, I already read the top paragraph. I want to show you guys this. Gilbert Verdian originally mentioned this on July 10th. And the reason why we referenced that old video is just to kind of have it make sense. You take a blast of the past to reference the present, right? That's just always a good thing to do. So Gilbert mentions, we've removed the friction completely. How many times have you heard Louis Jackson, Crypto Lulu, talk about, is it frictionless? A lot of times he's talking about, obviously, XRP, but yeah, Over at Quant Network, they remove the friction completely, allowing enterprises to securely and safely transact with any public blockchain, right? Without the need to store, sign, or hold crypto for digital asset transactions, paving the way for tokenization of not just billions, for crying out loud, trillions of dollars of regulated assets by who? Institutions, to transact on any public chain and access new investors and liquidity. Shout out to Cool Cat Crypto. He's talking about, in the past, you better believe that Larry Fink knows about, for instance, BSV. Well, I would say that's true. I would also say it's true that if we're talking about the institutional money here, like it's literally referenced right here, you better believe that if not him personally, one of his assistants or somebody's given him the memo about the Quant network. Okay, and I'm going to pull this up as well. Here it is, another milestone towards making blockchain simple, trusted, and future-proof, like Gilbert has mentioned 1,000 times at this point. Maybe you guys get sick and tired of hearing that. I don't know. But our platform, as an OVERLEDGER, allows you to circumvent the need for cryptocurrency during the token deployment stage. Yes, there's a little bit more in regards to this. I'll pull it up for just a brief moment. And here is it actually is, right? Straight from the Quant Network site, OVERLEDGER reduces crypto exposure. This is a write-up from the one and only Peter Marosans, who is this gentleman right here. And I'll read this quote again. Instead of having to hold cryptocurrency to pay for deployment gas fees, because you guys always give criticism to Quant because of, ERC20 tokens, more than an ERC20 token. So I'll read it again. Instead of having to hold cryptocurrency to pay for deployment gas fees, OVERLEDGER users can pay with platform credits, which are charged in fiat currency. He is the Chief Technology Officer over at the Quant Network. Let's get back to this topic in regards to this milestone. And that is making blockchain simple, trusted, and future-proof. Our platform, as in the OVERLEDGER, allows you to circumvent the need for cryptocurrency during the token deployment stage. And we've shown you, I literally read that again, I apologize, but we showed you those demos, right? Especially when it comes to, I think it was 2 weeks ago. Okay, so it was like, I think on a Wednesday as of 2 weeks ago, OVERLEDGER went public, all right? And it was so impressive to see that, it's like, you see the ERC20 tokens, or, also the deployment of like meme tokens. And I gave you guys that demo that shows you can do that like in 27 seconds. Well, what about having a platform as an OVERLEDGER network where you can have the institutions deploy something with solid utility on a solid platform with interoperability, right? 100 plus blockchains. A common complaint for businesses building blockchain solutions is the fact that public chains charge gas or transaction fees to perform functions. Again, let's talk about this for a second. These are charged in cryptocurrencies, which means that businesses have little choice but to hold crypto on their balance sheets to cover these costs. True. That's a headache, not least from a risk and accounting perspective. But for instance, today, OVERLEDGER platform users will no longer, think about what's mentioned there, no longer have this problem when deploying tokens. You don't think that sounds incredible in itself? Instead of having to hold cryptocurrency to pay for deployment gas fees, OVERLEDGER users can pay with platform credits, which are charged in fiat currency. This new feature applies to all Quant smart tokens, Base, Flex, and Vary, and integrates seamlessly with the OVERLEDGER token flow as seen below. Let's get into that part. So it says, it gives you an example of how this will work. And on this part, maybe I could blow this up a little bit more. I know on the Quant Network site, sometimes if you blow it up too big, it gets really hard to read it. So let me just jump down to this. All right. Yeah, I'll just do it from here. It's now at 200%. Anyway, this is how it works, all right? After creating your token or when choosing quick deploy on Quant Connect, Our users can see two options for deployment. Now, if you guys remember the demo, you could have paused it in some key areas, and shout out to Tokenizer. He pointed out some a few key areas, and maybe next time I'm with you guys, I'll try to pull it up for you. But yes, you can deploy in Quant Connect. Our users can see two options for deployment: deploy with MetaMask and deploy with platform credits. By choosing to deploy with credits, you will see your platform credits and see the associated costs before proceeding. So you don't need to have cryptocurrency, nor you need to connect a virtual wallet. And here's the breakdown of how that works. Again, I was just trying to blow it up a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see it, because on this side it's kind of tiny, especially when viewing it from your end. But yeah, on that demo, it shows that intro, and then going from there to the smart contract tier. And look how easy this is. I mean, you don't need to know, like, proper coding to do this simple stuff. You select a blockchain, you select the type of token. I remember what we saw from the demo. You can literally select, for instance, the deployment type, the type of token, like a QRC 20 token. As we go further down, it shows, for instance, like it says, no tiers appearing yet. I mean, again, this is just a demo from the actual OVERLEDGER. I imagine from the trailer that we saw. All right, but it's the simplicity of it. That's the beautiful thing about it, in my opinion. I'm going to put this back to where it was, because otherwise it just gets too funky. All right, so I'm going to jump back to what we have, and I'm going to show you just a tad bit more. All right, let's show you guys this. So on this one, it's ITSA. It's a future that is multi-chain. And on this, of course, is reference about QNT. Shout out to Quant Pop in regards to this. He did post this earlier today. Here's some of the key members of this. Let me see if you can see it all right. You can. And I'm going to put up some banners back. Yeah. All right. So it mentions, some of these market standards for global token markets. If anything, maybe on this one, I'll try to blow up just a tad bit more. All right. They have market standards, again, for global token markets. ITSA aims to promote the development. Let me see if that's big enough for you guys. Yeah. They seek the development and implementation of comprehensive market standards for blockchain and DLT-based cryptographic tokens. With the rise of decentralized finance, as well as NFTs and cross-chain operability, the role of token identification and classification has become an ever-increasing challenge for businesses, researchers, investors, and regulators. Some of their key members is Stock 3, and look what's mentioned here: Quant, Base Node, some of these other ones. But come on, Quant. I'll show you this other page real quick. So you see here reference right from ITSA, Quant, data about the token, Quant, the Open Block Explorer. I mean, it's not BS, right? And ITSA is the International Token Standardization Association. I go to the next page, show you this as well. Here we go. I think you see it. You do. So the ECB says it's a paper published by the European Central Bank, and basically it shows the use of DLT, as in distributed ledger technology. Who doesn't know that by now, right? In post-trade processes published back in 2021, it called for more interoperability in post-trade solutions, mentioning a lack of common practices and standards. A section on the identification of assets and tokens in a DLT-based system specifically draws attention to the need for a unique token identifier and mentions the International Token Identification Number, which is ITIN, as an example of an identifier fulfilling some key requirements. To get more into this, let me show you just a tad bit more. Here it is. And there it is. The future is multi-chain. How many times have you kind of heard a different example of this, right? Yeah, basically with Quant. With the rise of decentralized finance, non-fungible tokens, and cross-chain operability, ITSA has recognized the even more important role of token identification and classification. The number of layer 1 blockchains is constantly, increasing, and we are witnessing the emergence of layer 2 solutions for Ethereum. Unlike today's business models where all information rests in data silos, think about what's mentioned here. Literally word for word is what Gilbert Verdian has mentioned. Tokens will be able to exist on multiple blockchains. Ensuring that every token is uniquely identified and classified is an ever-increasing challenge for businesses, researchers, investors, and regulators. ITSA aims at bringing common identification and classification standards for tokens of any kind. And they're going to get it done, or have got it done, through the likes of OVERLEDGER. And it's an update in regards to LACchain. And Quant Papa also retweeted this, so this is good stuff. Please smash that like. Look what's mentioned here. And I've done a deep dive more than 2 or 3 times when it comes to LACchain. So Hungarian Horntail, you know what? I'll give him a follow back. He does follow me. He deserves a follow back. That's cool. Shout out to him. He says LACchain has released an official growth report, and this was reported yesterday. And come on, it's Quant, for crying out loud. And we understand how big LACchain is in regards to Quant. I mean, you know, if you think about it, this dates all the way back to, I think, about March of last year, 2022. Quant was testing CBDCs and the pilot programs for the, you know, all this stuff long before everybody else was. So let's talk about this. LACchain. This official growth report, now serving 8 million people. Now, some of you guys may be wondering, like, you know what? I got out of Quant, or I've seen you guys say some of these things, or you know, I haven't seen much of the price move. If anything, the price is going down. My thing is this: just like a lot of projects, you're not at full implementation yet. And this is, you know, some people say that, you know, Quant is it's too expensive currently speaking. Technically speaking, it's still incredibly cheap if you look at the grander scheme of things. All right. So yes, LACchain serving 8 million people across 17 countries of what? Latin America, through 60 plus projects powered by 200 plus nodes. LACchain is the world's largest, listen to this, public permission distributed ledger technology network. And let's face it, all gets to where it needs to be with Quant's OVERLEDGER. LACchain invites you to read Avasant's report on, quote, accelerating blockchain adoption in Latin America and the Caribbean. And if anything, we're going to show you guys this for just a brief moment. So I'm going to show you guys this. And I'm not going to read all of it because, I mean, there's a lot. But the nice thing is, this was reported earlier this month of July. And I'm going to blow some of this up because, you know what? We haven't talked about LACchain in a while. And I thought, you know what? There's nothing wrong with this. All right. So it says, although Latin America and the Caribbean LAC show great potential to embrace blockchain and reap its benefits, there are challenges basically to overcome for blockchain to become drive economic growth and prosperity throughout the region. There, of course, is many constraints, but the Inter-American Development Bank Group, which is IDB Lab, all the way back in 2019, launched the LACchain Global Alliance to accelerate the development of blockchain in the LAC region. And of course, as we know, back in March of 2022, Quant had that pilot program for LACchain. With the contributions and investments of more than 60 partners, LACchain's objective is to accelerate the use of and development of blockchain in the, let's face it, Latin American region. Throughout the proliferation and scaling of blockchain-enabled applications, it has built the world's largest permission blockchain infrastructure. Think about how that sounds. A scalable and sustainable network that uses Hyperledger, best suit as its enterprise Ethereum client. And we know that a while back, Quant's OVERLEDGER had that update for Hyperledger support. LACchain offers a reliable blockchain infrastructure compliant with regulations for data, security, scalability, and privacy. I mean, how many times do we cover projects like this? Several entities, including startups, corporations, banks, schools at all levels, governments, and multilateral institutions use it not only for identity, but also for credentials. And look at those guys: tokenization, interoperability, and of course, supply chains. LACchain has been effective. Its activities have improved the lives of over 8 million people by implementing more than 80 digital solutions on LACchain blockchain networks. Now, I'm not going to get into all this because, I mean, there's a lot of countries that are mentioned here. Obviously, Costa Rica, Brazil, you name it, right? But my key thing is that I want to mention to you guys is if we're recognizing Stellar's XLM and what, they are accomplishing, and it's quite a bit, let's be honest. Yesterday, I believe it was at the tail end of the show, we were talking about how Stellar is able to reach what we call the unbanked. Remember, I was talking about that, the unbanked people without access. While at the same time, Quant is able, with LACchain, to serve people without the access, if you will, in these Latin American countries. And we've seen some of these test pilots, and it's all coming into fruition. I like this part. To provide a comprehensive overview of the diverse applications of blockchain in the region, this report provides an overview of 10 LACchain projects that demonstrate the potential of blockchain to transform the region. I mean, for some people, they look at like 8 million people doesn't sound like much. But again, you got to understand there's a pathway forward when it comes to the widespread adoption of how all this comes together. It's basically, like LACchain supporting for over 8 million. And then also having, I guess you could say, blockchain testimony or, of other local governments and municipalities literally going on record saying, you know what, this worked for us. All the more for like what you saw in Nigeria with that project that's built on Stellar. Again, here's another positive, reaction based off of things that were implemented. Digital asset management. These projects have a positive impact on society and the economy by using new technologies to enable faster, more secure, and more transparent transactions, reduce fraud, improve regulatory compliance, increase financial inclusion. We know about the whole thing about supply chain management. I couldn't believe that one time I came out with that thumbnail. Shows me in that longshoreman outfit. I got a compliment from Edward Vincent about you like that thumbnail, but I had at least 2 or 3 guys saying, nope, not Quant, it's VeChain. And it's just like, are you serious? You do understand that, Quant is so much more than an ERC20 token. And these guys are like, nope, VeChain, Morpheus network all the way. I can understand Morpheus network, but I couldn't understand them saying, nope, not Quant. They have nothing to do with supply chain. They have everything to do with supply chain. Here's a perfect example. Look what's on the screen. All right. There's a lot more that's mentioned here, but to sum it up, LACchain, like it says right here, has been rendering the enablers to accelerate blockchain adoption in the region to contribute to social and economic improvements in Latin America and the Caribbean region. True. With that, LACchain will continue to revolutionize the LAC region and catalyze innovation for a better future. Again, giving people access to things they never had access to, whether it is just 8 million people, is a big deal. Because if anything, you will have people from various different areas of these countries and so on. They develop allies and partnerships throughout the world. And if you can share some of your testimony of, the use case or how we now have access to things we never had access to, and it's through blockchain adoption, like it mentions just like right here and so on. And they ask the question, well, who is one of the companies that helped create this quote unquote interoperability? And it mentions, well, there's this guy, his name is Gilbert Verdian, a quant network. That could be big in itself because it creates more and more of those opportunities. All right, let me jump back to what we have. And I'm going to finish our quant segment with this right here. this part is pretty big. And again, thank you to Quant Papa for his ongoing, support and so on. Glad to see that he's back. He states, QNT, connect AI with OVERLEDGER. This is a quote, obviously, from Gilbert Verdian. We're going to play this clip, and then I'm going to show you the actual article. But if anything, smash that like. This is about 2 minutes. Here we go.
Connect AI, it was mentioned with Ocean. AI has a really good convergence with blockchain, and we can allow that across all the chains. What it's about is how do we interconnect using a secure channel to the disparate data sources to allow AI and big data to flourish. And we're quite excited with what can happen. And we've got client use cases we're already exploring in government, in aerospace, in healthcare as well, which we've got a couple of RFIs that we've been working on. So and it can be used for hundreds and hundreds of use cases around AI, data. If you want to do an MDAP on payments, if you want to do an MDAP as an exchange, anything computes, if you want to create like an AWS equivalent on the OVERLEDGER network, all of this is possible. So QNT has just become that pure utility token that can be used for everything. And then scale that up to a city. So imagine you're in a city and you're in a car, and that car knows that it's you. It tells the next car that I'm carrying this passenger, I need to go because there's an emergency, and every car gets out of the way so you can get to the hospital quicker. So we're just at the beginning of where we're heading with this exciting time, because machines will be able to communicate with machines, and for everyone to communicate, you need interoperability. I mean, why should a Tesla not be able to talk to a Mercedes autonomous vehicle to turn left? That's where we are today. But what we're allowing is any type of device to talk to any other type of device, to have true 5G cities. To QNT token is at the core of everything that we're doing. Hundreds and hundreds of use cases. Safely interconnect big data sources to a decentralized world, but have interoperability, because if you're using, let's just say, imaging data from healthcare in one blockchain, and then using an EMR that's a traditional database, it's just SQL, and then using something else on a third party, how do you get them to talk to each other? It's quite difficult. And how do you get them to talk together securely?
If you're paying attention to that last part of what you mentioned, this is, again, why I made that video a while back in regards to Jasmine and Quant. Some people are just like, oh, that's a reach. What's his name? Right? I'm not going to mention his name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. You said that was quite the reach and it was clickbait. But, it's just like, I already confirmed a few things, OVERLEDGER with Hyperledger, Fabric, interoperability, that update and so on. Gilbert Verdian mentioning literally these Internet of Things, making it so it's all interoperable, they connect, they talk to each other and so on. There's one more thing that I actually do know about, and I can't even talk about because, Quant Papa doesn't want me to mention, but there was a thing in regards to that whole thing of KPMG and Quant. I can't talk anymore about it, but hopefully at some point I can. And that's all I'm gonna state about it. But yeah, it was more than meets the eye. And the guy was saying that it was a reach. It wasn't a reach if you only knew, but it is what it is. So I gotta respect the wishes of what they want and not talk more about it. All right.